Hello and welcome to the Price Academy bite-sized history videos. This video is introducing Buddy Holly and the story of the day the music died. On February 3rd, 1959, American rock and roll musicians Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens and the Big Bopper were killed in a plane crash near Clear Lake, Iowa, together with the pilot Roger Peterson. The event became known as the day the music died, after singer-songwriter Don McLean referred to it as such in his hit 1971 song American Pie. So let's find out what happened. Buddy Holly had terminated his association with the Crickets in November 1958 and was on a tour called the Winter Dance Party at the start of 1959. He had got together a band consisting of Waylon Jennings, Tommy Allsup and Carl Bunch, with opening vocals from Frankie Sardo. The tour was set to cover 24 Midwestern cities in as many days. New hit artists Ritchie Valens, the Big Bopper and Dion DiMucci joined the tour to promote their recordings. The 1959 tour began in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on January the 23rd, and the performance at Lake Clear on February the 2nd was the 11th of 24 scheduled locations. The amount of travel soon became a logistical nightmare, as the distances between venues had not been properly considered when the performances were scheduled. Sometimes the musicians had to travel 400 miles between cities. The entire company of musicians travelled together in one bus, but these kept breaking down and being replaced. Apparently, 5 separate buses were used in the first 11 days of the tour. The artists themselves were responsible for loading and unloading equipment at each stop, as no road crews assisted them. To add to the disarray, the buses were not equipped for the weather, which consisted of deep snow at waist height in several areas and varying temperatures from -7 degrees to as low as -38 degrees. Later, the Big Bopper and Valens began experiencing flu-like symptoms, and drummer Bunch was hospitalised with severely frostbitten feet after the tour bus broke down in the middle of the highway in sub-zero temperatures near Ironwood, Michigan. On Monday, February 2nd, the tour arrived in Clear Lake, having driven 350 miles from the previous day's concert in Green Bay. This was not a scheduled stop. Tour promoters hoped to fill up the date and called the manager of the Surf Ballroom and offered him the show. By the time Buddy Holly arrived at the venue that evening, he was frustrated with the ongoing problems with the bus. The next scheduled destination was Moorhead, Minnesota, which was 365 miles away. Holly decided to charter a plane himself and for his band to Fargo, North Dakota, which is adjacent to Moorhead. Flight arrangements were made with Roger Peterson, a 21-year-old local pilot, described as a young married man who built his life around flying. The flying service charged $36, which is equivalent of $320 today per passenger for the flight in a single-engined V-tailed Bonanza, which seated 3 passengers and the pilots. Apparently, as Big Bopper had contracted flu whilst touring, he asked Waylon Jennings for his seat on the plane. Jennings is supposed to have made a remark in jest, "I hope your plane crashes." Valens asked Tommy Allsup for a seat on the plane, and a toss of the coin decided who got it, and Valens won. After the show ended, the 3 musicians went to the nearby airport, but the weather at the time of departure was light snow and visibility was of 6 miles with winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour. The plane took off at 12:55 a.m. on February the 3rd. Around 1 a.m, when the pilot Peterson failed to make the expected radio contact, repeated attempts were made to establish communication, but they were unsuccessful. Later that morning, having heard no word from Peterson since his departure, another airplane took off to retrace Peterson's planned route. Within minutes, at around 9:35 a.m, the wreckage was spotted less than 6 miles northwest from the airport. The plane had crashed into a cornfield at high speed at around 170 miles per hour. The right wing tip had struck the ground first, sending the aircraft cartwheeling across the frozen field before coming to a stop at the wire fence. The bodies of Holly and Valens had been ejected from the fuselage and lay near the plane's wreckage. The Big Bopper had been thrown over the fence in the next cornfield, and the pilot was entangled in the wreckage. The coroner confirmed that all 4 victims died instantly of gross trauma to the brain. The winter dance party tour continued, with 15-year-old Bobby V given the task of filling in for Buddy. The pilot was found after an official investigation to not yet be qualified to fly in weather that required to rely solely on instruments. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, to like and subscribe to my channel, or follow me at Twitter or at Facebook at Little Miss History 81, at TanyaAlex38, or facebook.com/TanyaAlex38.